It's another episode of the Ultimate Intimacy Podcast with Nick and Amy. We are so excited for our guest today. We had them on a while ago, but it's been way too long. So we'd love to welcome Abe and Elaine Ramiro. Welcome to the podcast again, and we're excited to have a fun podcast.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
thank you for
Yes.
having
Thank
us,
you.
guys.
Thank you. Thank
Good to
you,
see you
guys.
again.
You too. You guys are literally the experts in this category. We think.
Are we? I
Absolutely.
mean, I guess we are.
Oh, you're awesome. So today's episode is going to be on flirting, laughing, and connecting more to make a more playful and intimate marriage, which is what we all want, right?
Oh, absolutely. And how many messages do we get from people that are like, our marriage is just boring. Like, there's no excitement. Like, we just feel like roommates living together. I think that might be one of the
Right.
the most popular emails that we get, right?
Oh,
Yeah, it's easy
Which
to
is
fall into that trap though.
it really is. It is so easy because there's so much in a marriage, right? Because sure, you start out with the romantic, playful side, but then you move into being parents and running a home and being financial partners. And so you can get just like sucked into that like vortex of just the, just the work side or just all the things you have to work on in a marriage.
Yeah, no, we've experienced it in our own marriage. I'm sure you guys have as well. When we thought of this topic, we totally thought of you guys because you guys have kind of a unique experience where for a while you had a long distance marriage. But every
Yeah.
time we talked to you, you guys were laughing and joking and
Mhm.
just so much fun. And you could tell that you really were working on your marriage to have fun and stay connected. What are some of the things that you did to stay connected and make your marriage fun, especially as you were living maybe further apart?
Yeah, so we were in a long distance marriage for a period of time because we had children from previous marriages. And so when you are in distance, it is tough. Now we live together now, so
Yes.
but it is tough. And I think that we're just naturally kind of jokesters and pranksters, don't you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
you are more than I.
Yeah, I like to have a good time.
Yeah.
I love that.
But I think partly when you are in distance, and I wouldn't even say just a distance, just in marriage in general, it's so important to keep that playfulness alive, right? And flirting is just one part of that, but it's also just not always taking life so seriously so that you can be serious when you need to be serious, right? And
Yeah.
so I don't know. I mean, your question was is like, how do we do that? Honestly, I think some of it was natural, but some of it was to keep the connection because when you're apart from one another, it is a lot harder to do that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that, and again, in distance, and I think it's good to keep an open mind is sometimes doing things you don't want to do. And as a partner, in distance, there was a couple things that Elaine really wanted to try, and one was painting, over a Zoom call, right? And so we had little paint things. We did it, and I was like, one, I'm horrible at it, so I don't want to do it, and I find it really tedious. But we ended up having a great time and just laughing and looking how ridiculous my painting ended up, and that kind of thing. So I think it's fun to, engage and do things that you don't typically do together.
Yeah, I think, what happens when you're in distance and, you have to get really intentional because you do a lot of online dates. And so as a result, just watching Netflix together gets really boring and old fast. And so one of the things that we would always encourage, our listeners on like a long distance marriage was have online dates, but make them very intentional and get creative and do different things to keep your interest. And so as a result, we did that. And we did some really dumb, corny things, things you would never do, normally. Because when you're together, you can just like, hey, let's just go catch a movie or like go down and have dinner or something like that. But I think we learned a lot from that period of our marriage because what we've learned is it is so crucial to keep things interesting and different and playful and to sometimes do things outside the box a little bit, like a painting night, right? Where you're
Yeah.
the little you painting each other, or, you see that trend on TikTok or whatever, or we just were watching something on Zoom where we followed the lady and did a paint, and it was silly. It was totally dumb, but we still have our pictures and we look back on it.
That's awesome. Well, one of the reasons why I asked the question from a long distance relationship, because is like you said, you have to be creative, whether you're sending your spouse a flirty text or different things like that. Like
Yes.
if people actually approached it maybe that way and did those things like you guys are talking about, how much would that alone just increase the fun and things like that in their marriage? So
Right,
you
being
don't even have to be
intentional.
far apart, but just doing those things like you did when you were far apart, you like I said, flirty text or just things like that to keep things
Well, I've
spicy and
never
fun.
lived far apart from you. We've been, married 23 years and always lived together and close and see each other a lot.
A lot.
A lot.
'Cause
All
you
day
work-
long, every day. But I also think, like, for people in our situation that see each other a lot, like, sometimes it gets really hard to do those kind of things because you see each other so much, right?
Exactly.
Like, you forget, like, when you're apart, you're like, oh, I can send a flirty text because I haven't seen him in so long. But,
Haven't
like,
seen
at
him in
home,
an
it's like,
hour.
I'm like, I forget to do those kind of things because I'm like, you're right here all the time. And so I forget that our marriage still needs some of that stuff. And that's kind of what I want to hit on right now. Like, my question would be like, for the couples that feel kind of in that routine, marriage
Yes.
is just kind of, it's just going, right? It's just kind
Right.
of stagnant. But they kind of like, because I get questions, how do I learn to flirt again when we haven't flirted with each other in 10 years or 2 years? Like, how do we kind of jumpstart that without being awkward, right? Like, what tips
Yeah.
do you give?
Well, I think that, one of the things that we need to remember is that in the same way each of us all have different parts of ourself, we also have different parts of our marriage, right? And so there is, like, you guys work from home, right? So you have your business side where you work together. And so sometimes I think it's important to get intentional and say, let's go on a walk, or let's go out to lunch, and we're going to go as, like, the fun couple. We're going to leave the financial couple, the business partners. They are staying at home. That part of our marriage is not welcome into this time. And I think that really helps it, because it's like, hey, I love the fun laughter, Abe, but the guy I got to do my finances with,
He's a
sometimes
jerk.
sometimes he's a jerk, right? Like, I don't know if I want to go to lunch with him, right? And so I think you can be intentional in that way, and to recognize that we have to be serious at times. We have to take care of crises. We have to parent, and we have to have tough conversations in our marriage, but those are parts of our marriage. But we can also remember, when you first started out, most people connect on that playful, fun, romantic side of their marriage. And so invite that couple out. Don't invite the other parts. That's what I often will tell my clients in my practice.
It's a great suggestion.
It is, and you named all the things that we do. So
that's good.
Try to do. Yeah, try to do.
Yeah.
Abe, I want you to give all the men a tip how to flirt better with their wives and how to keep it fun.
Well, I think one of the things I was thinking of, and Elaine does a good job of this, and I kind of follow suit, is that, in the day-to-day stuff, you're working and you're just kind of, nose down in your work day. I'll get like a spicy text from Elaine just out of the blue. And sometimes she'll even go overboard with a shocking spicy just text. I'm like, whoa. And that kind of shocks you out of your
the rest of your work
frame
day
of
is
mind.
shocked.
Exactly.
And
Right.
I like to do it when he's in a meeting,
Yeah. And just to
Isn't that
throw
terrible?
a curveball. And
That's
so
awesome.
and I do enjoy that part of her personality, and because she does like the shock. So I think, and maybe this wouldn't work for all marriages, like if you've been in that kind of an even plane for a while, but that's an easy way to get it started.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
throw something sexy, spicy, flirty, the over the top, something they would never expect.
And there's different, and I think there's different types of flirting. There's more, because what is flirting? If we look at flirting, it is a bid for connection. So that would be something like the Gottman research says. They're an institute that studies couples, and they talk about, we want to make bids for connection, so that I'm trying to get him to connect with me. And so sometimes it's a bid to be playful together, right? sometimes flirting is a bid for sex, but it's not always, you know? And so I think sometimes people are worried about that because they think, well, if I flirt, he's just going to think I want to have sex and maybe I'm not in that headspace. And it's like, well, but you could also flirt to bid for playfulness, you know, to get out of our serious side. It could be a romantic flirting, right? It could be something like where you're complimenting them or you're, you know, leaving a rose on their windshield on their car. Like that's a romantic way to flirt with your partner. So there's different types of flirting. And so what I would encourage people to is to like whatever mode you're in, you know, or whatever feels comfortable. But maybe you do send the shocking, sexy one sometimes too, you know?
Amy did that to me one night, and the rest of my work day was completely shot. She was out of town, and I'm like,
gosh.
I got nothing done.
Right.
I was just waiting for you to get home.
Yeah, so maybe you need to think of the timing of those. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, if you need to get something done, maybe don't do that. No.
That's right.
Yeah. And I think, you know, again, flirting can, you know, in the beginning, what are we doing when we're first meeting each other? We're trying to get that second date. We're trying to get that third date. And so you are flirtatious and you're putting your best self forward. But once we have been in a marriage for a long period of time, it's like, well, I love them and they love me. And you kind of let that slide. But I think it's important to remember to bring that back in if it has kind of, you know, disappeared a little bit from your marriage, because I think that spark, it gives that, you know, connection. And there is actually a release of like dopamine and oxytocin and things like that when we flirt with one another, whether it's just like a hand on a shoulder or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so it really is incredibly healthy for the marriage.
I love that.
Okay, I have a really hard question.
Ooh.
How
Okay.
does laughing more in your marriage positively affect your intimate life?
Oh, what do you think?
Well, you know, it's
And you're speaking our jam because, you know, we
I
do.
know.
We really talk about laughing in marriage.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's so powerful because it can also jolt you out of an argument, right? It can jolt you out of stress and get you going down that intimate road where you can just start laughing about something ridiculous, even when you're in the middle of a fight. And then, you know, you get to the part where you hug and you apologize, and then it becomes a silly, fun night. And I think that's so important. When we have a whole podcast dedicated to it, right? The marriage is a joke, and getting more laughter in your marriage and more fun in your marriage. And so I think that
I think it slows it down, right? You know, and if we use like the language of some of the research, like again, that the Gottman Institute would call it a repair attempt. So repair attempt is any time we're trying to pump the brakes. So if we are in a place where we're super stressed or we're having conflict and we're angry at one another, by making kind of a like a joke that's maybe an inside joke, it pumps the brakes a little bit. It helps slow down the cycle and the process so that we can get back into a place where we're actually doing some positive problem solving, right? Because when we don't do that and we speed it up, then the next thing you know, you're just kind of going down the Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole, and you're not, there's really nothing effective coming out of the conflict or the, you know what I mean, or the interaction.
And on top of that, too, even with the this is kind of a sideways angle, but when you look at some of these comedians like David Spade and all that, and like, how are they getting these beautiful women? It doesn't make any sense, right? It's that joke part. It's guys that can make girls laugh, or girls that can make guys laugh. There's something that's sexy about it. You know? Something that's fun about it. And I think it
brings us back to that even playful side. And I think we all, what you were saying at the beginning of the podcast, we all want that, right? We want life to be playful and fun and enjoyable.
Yeah, for sure. No question about it. I know in our marriage, you know, we try to do things that are playful and fun and lighten things up, go to a comedian, watch funny movies, and it really does make a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think it slows it down and it gets us back to that, you know, I think we all kind of, not to sound corny, but we all have that child still within us, right? And we want to be able to be playmates and have fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So important. I love that you guys have podcasts like dedicated to just having more fun in marriage, because I totally think that we can get so stressed and worked up about things that are so not important. And when we can find the basics of just like dating each other again and how important that is and laughing together. I mean, there's a lot of the reason we put some of the certain features on our app was to get talking about like, how do you want me to flirt with you? Like take the love quiz that like I love that you mentioned just like the way you touch and like leaving a flower, like those little kind of things, like flirting is going to look different to every couple. So like that takes communication, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have clients that say that all the time. They'll be like, well, I don't know necessarily how to flirt with my spouse. And I'm like, well, guess what? There's an expert that you can ask. And that expert is your spouse.
Yeah.
Right.
How do they like to
Right.
be flirted with? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Abe likes that kind of like, like shocking value flirting. And so I'm going to make sure that I know that he likes that. So I'm going to do that sometimes. And then, but then I also try to flirt with him in ways that are fun to me too. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think it's like, again, it's like flirt in the way that's natural to you, but then find out what your spouse kind of likes.
Mhm.
And then
Yep.
maybe
Love
have
that.
some fun goofing around with that. And you can like, sometimes they fall flat, right? Like, I had a friend, we were talking about the importance of flirting in your marriage. And so she's like, you know what? I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to text my husband at work and flirt. And so she did. And he was like, wait, what are you doing? Like, what?
Who is this?
Right. He's like, what are you saying? I'm in a meeting. And she was like, oh my gosh. But then they were able to laugh about it because then later when she was like, I was actually trying to flirt with you, he was like, oh, whoops. Like, whoops. So it was just funny that they could say like, gosh, we've gotten into a place of our marriage where we're forgetting to flirt, that even when you do, I'm confused by it. And
Right,
so as a result, what they do is they try to incorporate that. I have a fun little acronym that I'd love to share with you guys.
Yeah.
Please do.
Okay, so this is what I often will tell clients. If you are wanting to kind of flirt with your spouse, you can use something called I see you, as like I can see you. And so think of the acronym CSEE. So what you want to do is you could actually do this together on a date and just like do it together and try to have fun with it. Or you could not tell your spouse and just try this throughout the day. So with the S in C, first you're going to try to say or do something. Maybe it's sending a text or maybe it's saying something to them or doing something that's going to make them smile, something that you really know would make them smile. So that might be some kind of sexual thing. It might be something that's just romantic. It could be a compliment, something to make them smile. Then for the first E on C, you're going to do something that would emotionally move them, or say something or do something that would emotionally move them. Maybe really tell them you're proud about something, or that they've done something that you really think is amazing, or whatever. Maybe talk about something that's related even to their trauma, try to emotionally move them. And then the last E is to say or do something that you think would excite them. They'd be like, what? And get excited. And so it might be something sexual, but it could also maybe be something like, hey, I booked that vacation that we've been talking about, or I bought those tickets, or got a babysitter for Friday night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a fun little thing to remember. And it can be a challenge to yourself, but it could also be just something you do on a date, just sitting like at a restaurant. Like, let's do the C thing together and see if we can do this.
I love that. I think that's great. And
like a fun little challenge.
Yeah.
And it could be a challenge trying to come up with what to do. And
also surprising your spouse. I mean, I've said this many times, but Amy came to me and said, hey, I just booked us. We're going to go to Vegas for 2 nights. We live an hour and a half away, and just said, drop what you're doing. We're going. And that was the funnest trip I've ever had. I mean,
That's awesome. Yeah.
We went to movies, made love all the time, like ate, just did whatever we wanted for 2 days. And it was, I mean, I still remember how amazing that trip was. And and I'm not usually a surprise type of guy, right? But in this case.
So another story, just kind of flirty. We had listened to something on like your spouse loves it when you talk dirty to them. And I don't like that phrase. Like, I'm going to talk dirty, talk sexy is the way I like to say it. But
I like that.
Talk sexy to your spouse. And I'm like, we were on a walk one night with our dogs, and I'm like, I don't like talking dirty or sexy, whatever, like, what would you want me to say to you? He's like, I would love it if you did that in my ear. And I'm like, okay. Like I started like saying some really funny things that I thought were like he would just love, and we just started laughing, and it was like so out of the ordinary. But I was like, "Is that what you like?" And he's like, "I love it," you know what I mean? But like, it was so. Anyways, it just got us laughing. Like you got to have those kind of conversations. Like what would you love for me to say to you, or what would you love for me to bring to you, or how would you love to be surprised? Right? Like I
Right.
love those things that you mentioned because like it takes thought. Like everything you just said, like it takes thought. Like I really am thinking about what you want personally that's going to make your day.
And,
you know?
and even if you totally fail, like you said, it's still fun. It brings back memories, or you know, and it makes you like,
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay, here's one of the
Perfect.
things. Here's one of the things I always remember. Even if it's going to fall flat, I think of this. There is actually a type of monkey. It's the female capuchin monkey. And the way that she flirts with the male monkey is to throw rocks at him to get his. So I figure at least I could be better than the female monkey. I mean, she's making it work, right? So I'm just gonna lob out something here and there and see if I can get his attention. And most of the time it lands. And if it doesn't, I'm like, oh well, I tried.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
tried.
That's
So
right.
That's the key is trying, right?
Right. So
Right.
don't worry, even if it doesn't land, it will be funny,
Yeah.
to show that you like tried,
Right.
And the best mishaps are the ones you go back to and you're like, remember when we talked about this or tried this and we just
Yeah.
Yeah,
embarrassed
total
ourselves?
mishap.
It works.
Yeah.
Right. But I think the goal is to try to be intentional about getting back to fun and playfulness and flirtiness. That intentionality just makes such a difference in a marriage because we can just get stuck in those other parts of the marriage. And they're important. Those are important parts of the marriage where we're talking about leaning into serious things. But oh my gosh, like don't live there all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
that's your challenge for the week if you're listening is to, in the next few days, do something that is flirty that you think that your spouse will love. And if you have no idea, go have that conversation, right? Go say,
Yes, they are the
we need to
expert.
find that playful side of our intimate life again. Like when we did when we were dating. I mean, everyone was playful when they were dating. That's how they fell in love. So
Yeah.
how do we bring that back? Go have that conversation.
Absolutely.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love that.
And
And then
don't,
even a great,
oh, and I was
oh,
just gonna say, don't be afraid to fall flat. Like those are
Right.
some of the funnest times, right?
yes,
Right.
yes,
Right.
yes. And if you don't know, ask your partner and then think for yourself, what way do I like to be flirted with? Yeah, and even talk about times you flirted with each other in the past, because that can actually be fun too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Reminiscing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we do that all the time. Remember this story? In fact, sometimes Amy's like, I've heard that story 10,000 times. I don't need it.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Well, any departing thoughts?
no, I thought you guys are great. I think it's just really, really important topic. I think it's really, really easy for us to just do the daily grind and just turn on the Netflix at night and climb into bed and do the same things every day. And it's amazing. I hear from so many men, like when my wife sends me that simple, spicy text, even at just like, I appreciate you so much, or I can't wait to make love to you tonight, or just anything. It can be super simple. It makes their entire day, like just changes the whole atmosphere of the relationship and vice versa. So I just think we forget like how simple little intentional things can literally change your marriage.
Yeah, and for us, it was date night, right? We started having date night where we weren't for a long time, and it completely changed our marriage. And so part of flirting can be date nights.
Yeah.
Like actually take your spouse out, dress up, look nice. And there are a lot of you in the audience that are not doing date night because we do our polls and we ask you how many of you are doing date night. So implement date night as much as you can in your marriage too, and that'll create more fun, more flirting, and really transform your marriage as well. So
And when you go on your date, leave certain parts of themselves at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Leave the serious side and leave the financial side and leave the parents. They're staying at home.
Which can be hard to do, because we're business partners, so we're and not talking about the kids or business on date night, it can be a really hard thing to do. So you have to be very intentional about that.
Yeah. But there was a time when you didn't have those things.
Yep.
Right. So go back to that young couple that first like went on some dates and were just getting to know each other. Be curious about each other.
Mhm.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Let our audience know where they can find you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we have two podcasts, but we are wrapping one up, and that was our Love is in the Air because we're no longer in a long distance marriage. But we have a second podcast, which is called Marriage is a Joke. You can find us on Instagram at marriage.isajoke. And yeah, we'd love to have you. We talk about real serious like marriage issues with joking. We laugh a lot. We get a really, I mean, Abe really brings the jokes. If I'm
Elaine brings all the information. I bring the silly.
That's kind of what happens.
Perfect mix.
What happens in our podcast.
perfect. That's what you need. So if you're looking for hearing some interesting research and topics, but you want to laugh while you're doing it, that our podcast could be for you.
Love it.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope all of you enjoyed the podcast. And as always, we hope all of you have ultimate intimacy or find ultimate intimacy in your relationship.